On this episode, we're making chocolate brownies. They're truly decadent and scrumptious, but be careful, you may eat the whole pan. You are going to need flour, sugar, vanilla, unsweetened baker's chocolate, butter, and eggs. You will also need measuring cups and spoons, a rubber spatula, a knife, your paddle to your electric mixer and the mixing bowl, your saucepan, a small one, and, of course, your square baking dish. We have added our butter and baker's chocolate chunked up. You can see there's about bite-sized pieces. It just makes it quicker melting. I probably should have done the same thing to the butter, but that's your call if you'd like to break it up a little bit. We have our saucepan on a low to medium-low heat to get this melted. We're just going to stir this so that it doesn't burn to the bottom of the pan. And let it cool for about 5 minutes before we add it to our mixture in the mixing bowl. Just a side note, this is not the chocolate you want to lick off your fingers because there is no sugar in it. It is not sweet. It is a very dark, unsweetened cocoa. It will not taste good. So don't attempt it if you want, but my recommendation is wait till the sugar's added. We have not left our pot because we are instructed to stir consistently. You can see that the butter has basically melted, but we're waiting on some pieces of chocolate. So if you'd like to cut your chocolate a little smaller than I did, that's totally your preference. Sometimes if you whisk a little bit, like stir it vigorously, it'll melt it faster. Sometimes it won't. Just make sure you are touching the bottom of the pan as you stir so that it does not burn to the bottom of the pan. Again, we have not left the stove. I've been sitting here stirring until everything is melted, and you can see how creamy and delicious between the butter and the chocolate this is. We're going to remove this from the heat. So turn off your burner, remove it from the heat, and let it sit for 5 minutes. And while we're doing that, we're going to cream the the eggs, sugar, and vanilla. We have creamed our sugar, eggs, and vanilla, and we have let our butter and chocolate cool. We're going to turn our mixer on to a low speed and stream our chocolate mixture into our egg mixture. It says to scrape the bowl occasionally, so I'm going to drop this while it's off and just kind of scrape the bowl to help it mix completely. After we make sure that this is all mixed in, we're going to add our flour until it's just combined. It also says to scrape the bowl occasionally during this as well, so I'm just going to scrape the bowl to make sure we get all the flour combined and we're not over mixing it. There's our brownie batter. While we were creaming our eggs and sugar and waiting for our butter and chocolate to cool, we went ahead and buttered our square brownie pan. I've scraped the side of the bowl and I've removed the batter from the paddle attachment, and we're just going to pour it straight into the pan. And you can see some of it's not a little mixed, it's like a little bit lighter in color in some places. That's okay, because you're gonna kind of mix it in as you pour it into the bowl. But that's why they tell you to scrape the bottom of your bowl occasionally as you're mixing to make sure it's all incorporated. I like to use a rubber spatula with this because I can scrape my bowl and get all of those goodness bits and make sure I get all my brownie batter out. It takes a little bit of skill and a little progress, a little know-how, but you can get it done. And then take your finger, a clean finger, and remove it off of your rubber spatula. Now, I told you before to not lick your fingers if you got chocolate on it because it was really gross. This is the part where you want to lick your finger because it has sugar in it. But first, make sure that you get all of your mixture into the corners, and you can even take the back of your spatula and kind of smooth this out a little bit and help press it into the corners. Make sure it's an even, get more of that batter on your finger, and just work that piece back in there. Now we're going to put it into a 350-degree oven for, I think, 45 minutes. Welcome to Tip Talk, where we talk tips about brownies. If you don't have enough unsweetened cocoa baker's chocolate, please feel free to use 1 ounce, which is about 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder. I wouldn't suggest using more than 1 ounce or 2 at the most because it changes the consistency of things. If you're an unexperienced egg cracker and you're new to this position, that's okay. Crack your eggs into a separate bowl before you add them to the mixing bowl. This will make sure that you have no shell in your brownies. Like I said in the video, you have unsweetened chocolate that you're mixing or that you're melting with that butter. You don't want to taste it. Wait till it gets mixed with the sugar, and that's where the real star comes in, is when it's mixed with the sugar and it's nice and chocolatey and it's ooey gooey in those brownies. You can also add nuts to this recipe, and you can also, once it's cool, add a chocolate buttercream to the recipe as well. So you just coat it like you are, ice it like you do a cake, and you can have a whole different brownie than just regular chocolate brownies. Thanks for joining us on Tip Talk for brownies. Our brownies baked for about 45 minutes because I used an 8-inch instead of a 9-inch pan. That's okay. They just have to bake for that time period. You know that they're about finished because you pull away from the edge of the pan. You want to take them out of the oven and let them cool on a wire rack for about 2 hours before you cut into them. Trust me, the wait's worth it. Enjoy.